Hi everyone, this is Natasha's English channel, and today we will learn some English vocabulary from daily news. We will watch a video from NBC News. We will work on the vocabulary together, and in the end you will be able to listen to it without translation or subtitles and you will understand it. Before we start, I prepared a small workbook for this video with all exercises that we will do, and you can download a PDF copy of this workbook using a link which I put under this video. This is completely free and only if you want it. Before we go ahead and start watching the news video, I want to ask you if you know these words. They are very simple and you probably know all of them, but it is important for understanding the video itself. The first word is Prime Minister or PM. So Prime Minister is the head of a government or the principal minister of a country. For example, this guy was a British Prime Minister. If you know his name, share it in the comments and I will tell you if you were wrong or right. Next one is UK. UK stands for United Kingdom or United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Next word, government. Government is the group of people in office at a particular time or administration of a country. Usually, a government is managed by a prime minister. So basically, government equals to cabinet of ministers. Buckingham Palace. Buckingham Palace is a London royal residence. So basically it's a big palace where all kings and queens live. It is also an administrative headquarters, so the monarch can have some meetings and official business in there. And the last word is Hindu. Hindu is a person related to an Indian religion of Hinduism. So now we need to figure out if you know these people. They can be either Donald Trump or King Charles or Rishi Sunak. So I'm pretty sure you all know that this first guy is King Charles, who has just recently become a king. And the second one is Rishi Sunak, a new British Prime Minister. Now it's time to listen to our NBC News piece for the first time. Listen to it without any subtitles or anything. Just try to understand as much as you can.
This morning, Britain is ushering in its third prime minister in just 7 weeks. Earlier today, Rishi Sunak was invited to form a government following a meeting with King Charles at Buckingham Palace. He becomes the UK's first leader of colour and first Hindu prime minister. In his first address as PM, Sunak acknowledged the challenges ahead and the problems faced by his predecessor.
Some mistakes were made, not born of ill will or bad intentions. Quite the opposite, in fact. But mistakes, nonetheless. And I have been elected as leader of my party and your Prime Minister, in part, to fix them. And that work begins immediately. I will place economic stability and confidence at the heart of this government's agenda. This will mean difficult decisions to come.
Okay, was it difficult to understand it? If it was, let's work a little bit on the vocabulary and it will make it easier for you to understand it. So now we will listen to it again, but this time I will turn on the subtitles and also I will pause the video and explain some of the vocabulary. If you have downloaded a PDF of the workbook, you can use this last page of this workbook to make some notes. Here you have a special section for new vocabulary where you can also add translation in your native language or just a comment, an explanation or anything which will help you remember this word. Okay, let's go.
This morning, Britain is ushering in its third prime minister in just 7 weeks.
Okay, this morning, Britain is ushering in its third prime minister in just 7 weeks. Usher in, this is the first word which I would like to stop on. It means to watch or observe the beginning of something. So this morning, Britain is watching the beginning of its third prime minister work.
Earlier today, Rishi Sunak was invited to form a government following a meeting with King Charles at Buckingham Palace.
earlier today, Rishi Sunak was invited to form a government. So, invited to form a government. Invited means ask someone to come somewhere or participate in something. So, whenever you want your friends to come to your house, you invite them. So, you ask them to come. Here, he was invited to form a government. To form the government means to build a government. So, gather a cabinet of ministers. So, to invite ministers to participate in this government. We can actually rephrase it a little bit. Rishi Sunak was asked to build a government.
Becomes the UK's first leader of color and first Hindu prime minister.
Okay, this one is interesting. He becomes the UK's first leader of color. Leader of color is the expression which I would like to stop on to explain it. Usually, this term is used in a little bit different form. It is used as person of color or people of color, or it can be man of color or woman of color. And usually, it is used to describe any person who is not considered white. So, for example, in the United States of America, people who are African Americans or Asian Americans or Latino Americans are all called people of color. So in this context, in the context of this news video, the speaker is referring to Rishi Sunak being a Hindu. So basically Rishi Sunak has some Indian origin, and that's why she's saying he's a Hindu.
In his first address as PM, Sunak acknowledged the challenges ahead and the problems faced by his predecessor.
Okay, in his first address as PM. First address as PM is basically first speech as prime minister. Address, it means that he addresses some topics or he is talking about some topics. So basically his first speech as prime minister. And in his first address as PM or in his first speech as prime minister, Sunak acknowledged the challenges. So acknowledged means recognized, right? So he said that he understands that there are some challenges or there were some challenges. He also accepts them, right? So Sunak said that he understands and accepts the fact that there will be challenges. Now a little bit about challenges, because I'm pretty sure all of you know there are a lot of challenges out there, right? The most famous one is Ice Bucket Challenge, which we all know, but in this context and in many other business contexts, challenge usually means a stimulating task or a problem. So it's basically a task or a problem which you are motivated and interested to solve. It can be very difficult or hard to solve, but you like it and you're stimulated, you're motivated to solve it. So this is challenge. And also, there is another word in his in this sentence. In his first address as PM, Sunak acknowledged the changes ahead. So this ahead means in future. Also, you can say ahead of us, in future, for us, or ahead of us means in front of us. Just physically, someone or somebody or something is ahead of us, in front of us. And the last part of this sentence, so in this first address as PM, Sunak acknowledged the challenges ahead and the problems faced by his predecessor. So faced by predecessor, first I need to explain the word predecessor. The predecessor is someone who was somewhere before you. In this case, in this context, it is Liz Truss, the previous prime minister, and she is his predecessor. So the previous prime minister met face-to-face with something. So faced by predecessor means that the previous prime minister met face-to-face with something.
Some mistakes were made, not born of ill will or bad intentions.
Okay, and here is the switch to British English, right? The previous speaker, being an American journalist, speaks American English. And this guy, he's from Britain and he's British, so he speaks British. Also, a good point for Rishi is that he speaks slowly and you can understand each word, which is very good, and it makes it very easy to understand him. So let's start with the beginning. Some mistakes were made, not born of ill will or bad intentions. So this ill will or bad intentions, they are basically two synonyms, right? It's synonymic expressions, ill will or bad intentions. And they mean that previous prime minister didn't mean to create problems. She didn't want that. She wanted to solve problems and not create them. So ill will or bad intention means that the person has something bad in mind and that's why does this or that. But in this case, it was not born of ill will or bad intentions, because Liz Truss didn't have anything bad in her mind. She didn't want to make things worse.
Quite the opposite, in fact.
Quite the opposite, in fact. So opposite means contrary. Just to understand the concept, you may have two things which are opposite in their meaning. For example, hot and cold. Hot and cold are two opposites. They are contrary, right? So quite the opposite means on the contrary. In reality, on the contrary. The last part here is in fact. So he's saying quite the opposite, in fact. In fact means actually, de facto, practically.
But mistakes, nonetheless.
But mistakes, nonetheless. In this part, the most important word is nonetheless, right? It is the most difficult one which we should think of. So nonetheless means but still, right? Or however, or even so. We can rephrase this but mistakes nonetheless as but still these were mistakes. So basically he was saying some mistakes were made, not born of ill will or bad intentions, quite the opposite in fact, but still these were mistakes.
And I have been elected as leader of my party and your Prime Minister, in part, to fix them. And that work begins immediately.
Okay, so, and I have been elected as leader of my party. Elected as leader. To elect means to vote for or choose, and usually we use the word to elect when we speak about president, prime ministers, governors, or any other political figures, right? And we choose them or we elect them. So he was elected as a leader of his party and the prime minister in part to fix the problems or to fix the mistakes, so to make the consequences of mistakes go away. And that work begins immediately. Immediately means right away, this very moment, without any delay.
I will place economic stability and confidence at the heart of this government's agenda.
I will place economic stability and confidence at the heart of this government agenda. Place at the heart of. This is a very good expression. First of all, let's think about heart of, the heart of. We all know that heart is the most important organ in our body, right? Which pumps blood. But here, when we use at the heart of, we mean in the center of something. So in the very important part of somebody's attention or focus. And to place something at the heart of means that he will take something and put it in the center of somebody's attention. In this case, he is going to put it in the heart of the government agenda. Agenda is a to-do list or a plan or a program. So basically, he is saying that they are going to have economic stability and confidence in the center of their attention, in the center of their focus. And a little bit about economic stability. Economic stability means economic balance, economic strength, because we all know that the times are difficult right now. So he is putting economic stability or balance or strength in the center of government's attention.
This will mean difficult decisions to come.
This will mean difficult decisions to come. So first, let's talk about the verb to mean. To mean is to show or indicate. Usually, when we just start learning English, we would say, I think he wanted to say something, or she wanted to say something, but in reality we don't know what she or he wanted to say. Okay, this was it, the last part of this video. Hope you made some notes, because we will listen to it once again, and we will see how much you understand now after we have worked on the vocabulary. I will not turn on subtitles this time, and you will have to train your ear. Try to catch those words which we just discussed. But before that, if you're learning something new, give this video thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and turn on notifications. Okay, now let's listen.
This morning, Britain is ushering in its third prime minister in just 7 weeks. Earlier today, Rishi Sunak was invited to form a government following a meeting with King Charles at Buckingham Palace. He becomes the UK's first leader of colour and first Hindu prime minister. In his first address as PM, Sunak acknowledged the challenges ahead and the problems faced by his predecessor.
Some mistakes were made, not born of ill will or bad intentions. Quite the opposite, in fact. But mistakes, nonetheless. And I have been elected as leader of my party and your Prime Minister, in part, to fix them. And that work begins immediately. I will place economic stability and confidence at the heart of this government's agenda. This will mean difficult decisions to come.
Much better, right? Now let's check how well you understand the video. And here you have several questions which I suggest we go through and try to answer. Number 1. This morning, Britain is ushering in its third prime minister. In how many weeks? Number 2. Who and where did Rishi Sunak meet before he was invited to form a government? Number 3. Rishi Sunak becomes the UK's first leader of colour, and who else? Number 4. What was Rishi Sunak elected in part to do? You can post answers to these questions in comments under this video. I will try to answer these comments and tell you whether you were right or wrong. Also, see the link in the description of this video to the study model in Quizlet. Quizlet is this mobile app or desktop app which you can use to learn new vocabulary. I have already created a set of words from this video, and you can repeat them as needed. So that's it for today. Again, if you like the video and learned something new, give it thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.